Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and by now you know I love a good Kickstarter. Well, have I got one for you. It's going to start just around the corner. It's time to get your engines running. Check out this new Kickstarter. Get the early reward, get the early pledges in there, and go from there. Let's talk to the co-creator, co-writer of said Kickstarter, Mr. Caleb Palmquist. Caleb, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks. How are you?
I am very well indeed. Tell us about your Kickstarter. It's due on the 5th of March and it's called Dragon Grit.
Yeah.
How's this
so basically, I've always been a huge fan of Western stories.
Okay.
And I love fantasy stories. And going back about a year ago, my wife and I thought we should write a story together because she is also a novelist, and I've been making comics for quite a few years. And so we came up with this idea for a Western, except instead of horses, all the cowboys ride dragons. And that was the very basic premise behind it. And then we came up with some characters, and it ends up being a sort of an escort mission. It's about an ex-poacher named Vera who takes on a risky escort job to take basically a young city slicker across the desert with his dying wild dragon. And all the while they're being pursued by old rivals of Vera's that are part of a dangerous poaching gang.
Oh, dying dragons, man. That's said already. Oh, man. Oh my god. Okay, cool. So you're a comic book writer. You have several books under your name: Unicorn, Vampire Hunter, Swords of Arthur. Your wife, a novelist. Now, to say one might feel one is a shorthand of the other, or the other way around, one's a longhand of the other. How did those kind of disciplines merge? Was it like a nice, easy transition, or were there various number of debates to be had?
That's a really great question. We actually started out writing this as a novel, and eventually decided to transition into making into a comic book. And obviously I have more experience with comic book scripts than my wife does, but that said, I mean, we wrote the story the same way I write all my stories, which is come up with an idea, write an outline. Yeah, I mean, we had a few disagreements here and there, like any collaboration would have, but I will say that certainly I have characters that I like, and she has characters that she likes. And so hopefully because of that, you'll see the love for all those characters come through. Vera, the main character, is my wife's creation originally. And then the big brainchild of mine was the villain of the piece. His name is Jack. And if you've ever seen the movie Tombstone,
all right, okay,
yeah, then you know about Johnny Ringo, who is kind of the villain of that piece. Jack has a lot of Johnny Ringo in him. Cool. And so if Johnny Ringo rode a grumpy fire dragon, then
this would be him. Let's just put it out there that not all Johnnies are evil. Let's just say that now before people start sending me here now. All right.
Right.
I don't own a dragon. All right. So let's just keep it nice and calm, everyone. Thank you. So writing longhand, then kind of at what point did you both think, well, you know what, this isn't quite working as the novel, it has to be the comic book? Is it the kind of ideas that you were bringing forward that, you know, I mean, I always think there's a nice sort of like transitional relationship between novels, comics, and movies, and it goes to kind of how imaginative the reader or the recipient is. If you can't be bothered to imagine anything, go and watch a movie. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, you're dealing with somebody else's stuff. That's you're just along for the ride. Novels are like, dude, you've got to put a lot of work in to get all this. All right, we'll help you out with some descriptions and whatnot, but you're going to have to put some work in. Yeah, comic books are that happy medium between the two. So,
Yeah.
so somewhere, what was it between the lines then that made you think, oh well, you know what, this works better as a book, as a comic book rather than a novel?
To be honest, it had to do with the illustrations. Kay Woolheiser, who is the artist of this book, I worked with her before on a book called The Knight and the Lion,
Okay.
which is an Arthurian fantasy story, and she loves to draw dragons. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be so cool if we got a drawing of, Vera and Blaze? And then before long, it was like, well, we make comics. Like, why not just make this into a comic book?
Yeah.
And um, you know, so, and to be honest, also, I'm quite afraid of writing a novel. Um, so
Too many
it
words.
yes, too many words. In some ways, this was an act of cowardice on my part. I was like, I don't know if I can write a novel. Let's just have a really good artist draw pretty pictures. Um,
Maybe that's institutional memory for you, Caleb. Maybe you're just so used to writing 22 pages and making sure that the kicker's on the flip. You know, maybe you're just used to that. Yeah, I can't write 50 pages and end on a chapter. No, 22 pages and turn the page. That's what I want. Maybe it's just,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? We just get used to it, don't we? Get used to, the routine, I suppose. And if you create good stuff whilst doing it, that's all well and good. Cool, good shout. Good shout indeed. So what sort of inspirations? We talked about Tombstone, we talked about dragons, all cool stuff. Prior to that, the Arthurian stuff, what got you into comics in the first place, and what got your wife into comics to make her think, well, this is a viable switch?
Well, that's a really good question. I
I'm full of
mean,
good questions. It's like I do this for a living or something.
what
Hashtag I don't get paid.
What got me into comics, I mean, like going way back, I was really into X-Men comics as a kid.
Just remember, your way back is not my way back. Just you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe this, yeah. Certainly, if you want to try to carbon date me, the comics that I was reading as a kid was Ultimate X-Men.
Oh yeah.
And I really was into that. And then as I got a little older, I started to read things like I got really into Brian K. Vaughan, of course, like so many people did. Why the Last Man was probably the first comic I read that made me think like I could write a comic.
Yeah.
And so then probably 7 or 8 years ago, I decided I wanted to just try making comics because I saw other people doing it on Kickstarter, and so I thought, I'll give it a go. And
Cool.
my first few projects didn't do super well, but I kept growing. And then, as far as my wife goes, I think she had read some comics and certainly some web comics before she met me, but I think it was, I definitely brought her more into the fold in terms of long form comics, and I certainly don't want to toot my own horn, but I've had some amount of success on Kickstarter, and so I think the fact that she saw the success that I had, and was like, well, if we make this as a comic, people will probably read it.
Yeah.
And so not that they wouldn't have read it as a novel, but you know, it's
Part of it's brand recognition. They'll see your name. They're like, "Hey, I've seen this guy's stuff before. I like this guy's stuff. I'm going to jump on board and see what it's about." Yeah, brand recognition. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have a
for
brand.
sure.
Yeah, cool. So the reason why I ask about, I remind people that their long time ago in the galaxy far, far away is different to mine. I was doing a pod a few weeks ago. You know, this guy, he said something along the lines of, "Oh man, I grew up watching Star Wars as a kid. I can remember when The Force Awakens came out." I was like, dude, that was 6 years ago. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm old. Gee, I remember when Star Wars came out, the first one. That's A New Hope, not, you know. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god, how old do I feel now? So, it's interesting. What is it do you think that makes Kickstarter so interesting for creators? Is it the absolute creative control that you have over your product?
That's certainly part of it. Although I will tell you, the real honest thing is that I have tried to get into the publisher game, and I've dabbled in it a little bit. Not in any way that was satisfying or that made me any money. And so I think the truth is that it's a way. It is not only a way; it's the best way for people like me who are not affiliated with a large publisher to get their stories out into the world. And it's not, what I can tell you is that my experience from working with publishers is that it's not better. You know, with the exception of, you know, if you get a big deal with like one of the, you know, top tier comic book publishing companies, but even then, you know, I have friends who have had books published through some of the largest companies, and I don't want to out anyone, but they haven't made money. You know, it's like I've seen people's dividend checks or, you know, royalty checks where it's like, oh, total over 2 years I made $1,000, and it's like, oh, on Kickstarter on those same 2 years maybe they made, you know, $100,000, and it's like, so what is the incentive for me as a creator to do that? And so, but to answer your question, yes, I have creative control and I get to go straight to the people. So I talk to the people who read my stuff all the time. You know, I mean, I'm going straight to them, and that's really cool. And, you know, I can respond to what people like and what they don't like, and if someone has a problem with something that I sent out, you know, they message me directly. You know, they're not like reaching a customer service line.
Yeah. 1-800 I hate this comic.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I look at Kickstarters, I see a ton of Kickstarters over the more, I suppose, recognized route of going through publishers. I think I see over the last few years, I've seen Kickstarter creators move into publishing as like with a company, and I think to myself, it's that rawness, that edge that I liked about Kickstarters. You know, the fact that, you know what, I'm trusting you to tell me the story. I'm trusting you to take me on this ride. I don't have to worry about editorial control. I don't have to worry about it being pared down for any sort of violence in or any sort of action between characters or anything like that. What I get is the unfiltered version of what I get, and I like that. I like that kind of responsibility that you guys have as creators and I have as the reader to enjoy that. That's kind of it for me. That's not to say that published comics are bad. They're not. Some of them are absolutely fantastic, you know. But you've got to bear in mind, some of those characters have been around for so long. They're their own. We talked about brand earlier with your name, for example, brand recognition. There's not a lot you can do with Batman anymore to make it interesting, because no one's going to allow you to do anything different with that. Your book, for example, your creations, you can start off, set up the character. This is great. Everybody loves the character, and then 4 pages in, kill him, and that's it. It's over. And like everyone's like, "Oh my god, they've killed Spock." So you get that kind of. You young pups might not get this, but once upon a time, Spock died. It's a thing. Go look it up. Don't worry, he got better.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
people do.
Right.
So I'm interested. I'm interested because Kickstarters, for me, give you that freedom, and I like that level of freedom. I think it's a really good point to kind of to get that across. When we talk about Kickstarters in general, are you a fan of doing digital tiers, or are you just do you prefer the in your hand kind of book?
Certainly when I'm running a Kickstarter, I always offer digital tiers, and there's like multiple reasons for that. One is that some people just prefer that. Also, sometimes people want to read the book and they don't have, the amount of cash that they want to throw down for a physical book. And then the last reason really is international backers, because I get a lot of people backing internationally who, I mean, if you're across the pond, if you back my book and you're going to have to pay like $20-$25 shipping, which is a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah. I say this all the time. Yeah, I don't mind dropping $5, $6, even maybe $7 on a book. If it intrigues me, I'll pay it. I do mind having to pay $25 to get it shipped over. It just becomes unequitable for me to pay that money. So I personally, if I'm doing a Kickstarter or buying into a Kickstarter, I'd rather go PDF, because I in my head, you're getting the majority of that money. You're getting all that money. You don't have to subsidize postage out of it to somebody else. It's like, boom, you want $7 for your book? There's your $7. Thanks very much.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. If people are backing at a digital level, that's more money to the creator. That said, that's another reason that I like to do things like I end up doing collected editions, because I often find that international backers will, like last summer I did a collected edition for Unicorn Vampire Hunter, which is like this. I did this like really fancy.
On. Let's make the picture big. Hang on. There you go.
I did this really fancy edition. It's got the silver gilded page edges and everything.
That looks like fun.
Yeah. And I actually had a decent number of international backers who had backed digitally before back it, because it's like, okay, now you can get the whole story in this fancy edition, and shipping actually costs less than what the book costs, and so then it doesn't feel so crazy to pay for it.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Good shout. Excellent. We'll take a break for one of our adverts before we come back. We'll have a look at some of the art of the book that you sent over. So we have a couple of choices. I'll give you can have the choice on this one for our adverts. We have the Old Timers. We have the No Prize Podcast. We have the Definitive Crusade. And we have K-Pop Cosmos. Which one would you like to see?
I'm dealer's choice.
No, you're the guest. You go.
I'm not totally sure what all of those things are.
I know, that's great, isn't it? Should we go for? I tell you what, we'll go for this one. One of my favorites. We've already talked about age already, so check it out. It's the Old Timers Comic Book Show.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
It's about as Western as I could get, sorry.
There we go.
It's the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. There you go. Check it out for books that are older than 25 years at the very least. There you go. The most recent one that dropped is a Tainted Love special. All about the loves in comic books that should not have happened. I'll leave it up to your imagination as to who got in there. Watch the show and find out. I'm not telling you, Jack. All right, let's have a look at the book. You were kind enough to send over a preview, which I think is always great. I have to say, looking through this, I love the colors. The colors absolutely are evocative. I mean, we're using one of the covers, I think, as our backdrop there. But just look at this. This is gorgeous. Your artist, did they provide the colors themselves, or is it?
Kay Woolheiser did everything from the pencils up through the colors. And then
Wow.
the only other contributor to these pages is Dave Lentz, who did the lettering.
That's just so gorgeous. That top, I love that top panel. It absolutely, that is just really well done. The clouds look great as well. Absolutely brilliant. Let's have a move further into the book. Oh, there'll be trouble ahead. Get up the old six. Interesting camera angles to use on here. Is this kind of your decision, your wife's decision, the artist's decision? How does that work?
Well, I mean, my scripts are always very open to interpretation. What I described in this page is like, okay, she's being chased by two dragons, and then she does a sort of air brake, like so that she can drop back behind the other dragons.
Right.
Yeah.
Not the Jedi.
Yeah.
Or Top Gun. It's in Top Gun as well. I don't mind. It's fine. The first one, not the second one. Cool. I like that. I like the angle. It works so well. I love the setup panels strong, but this one is even stronger where it's kind of you've got the wings flared. I like that one a lot. Manga influences in the faces from Kay.
Yeah, I think she definitely Kay has a little bit of that Korean style to her, which I think is pretty cool.
No, I agree. Next one. Oh, here we go. We're getting all Godzilla about it now. This is our backdrop in full effect. That's cool. Makes you wonder if the dragons can breathe fire. Why do people need guns?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it is still a Western, so there are going to be shootouts and that sort of thing. So
just don't leave your dragon by a waterhole because that'll go wrong. Excellent. Yeah, it just works so well. When you talk about mixing westerns with genres, you automatically think of things like Cowboys and Aliens, which works better as a comic book than it did as a movie.
Right.
And you think to yourself, what do I expect when I open up a book or when I look? Love this panel as well, using the sun to create. Really well observed. Again, is that Kay or is that you guys saying, look, this is the shot that I want to see?
I don't actually remember. I'm gonna go ahead and give Kay credit for it because I always want to give Kay credit for everything cool.
Cool. Absolutely spot on. Well, here we go. GeForce time. Story-wise, you've mentioned that Vera's escorting somebody across the Wild West with their dying dragon.
Yep.
And the bad guys are after Vera. Why doesn't Vera just cut loose then? Or is that part of the story that you can't tell me?
Well, I mean, I could tell you a little bit about the story. So this scene that we're looking at right now is definitely like early on. We're just we're kind of seeing that because what she does is she delivers packages for star routes out west. So so
she's
that
Western
means
Prime. She's Western Prime. Get your order there by tomorrow.
Right, yes. So she's delivering packages, but the problem is that the world is modernizing, and there's trains are being built, like train routes are being built, and making the world smaller, and so they don't really need people like her anymore, and really the driving incident is that she's looking for work, she doesn't have money. And later, after this preview, we'll see her meet a young man named Robin, who has recently inherited his father's estate after his father died, and he's got this dragon named Chanterelle, who's a mist dragon, and she's like this old mist dragon. She's dying, and she keeps wandering off. When Vera sees Chanterelle, she knows right away that this is a dragon who is trying to find her dragon graveyard because she's a wild dragon. And like elephant dragons go to their family graveyard. And so Robin hires Vera to escort her to the dragon graveyard, but they have to walk
Mm.
because Vera doesn't know where it is. They have to let Chanturel guide the way. And so they have to walk and make their slow way across the desert. And
Mhm.
little do they know they're being pursued by Jack and his gang, which kind of complicates everything.
Yeah. See, again, I don't know, man. You start off on a somber note. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want dragons to die. That's sad. Oh, man. I'm such a soft heart. I'm such a soft hearted, you know.
This is my favorite panel of the preview, the bottom panel.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Cool. It's interesting. You know, it's a trick I've seen a number of times. The kind of art minus the dialogue. The dialogue, obviously, there's dialogue in this panel and the odd bits here and there. Is this a creative choice for you to kind of let the action speak for themselves?
Whenever I write comics, I try to put as few words in it as possible.
Okay.
That is always my goal, because I think it's a visual medium. And so, you know, sometimes I certainly have pages that have a lot of dialogue, but I do my best to keep it as minimal as I possibly can. I love this page too.
Yeah, that's a great page. Absolutely great page. I am super intrigued. I am super impressed.
Thank you. And yeah.
So, I mean, I mentioned the lack of words. I've seen it, as I say, I've seen it done a few times. More times than not, it doesn't quite work. I'd like to say that is absolutely not the case here. This is absolutely, you can see the pace of the whole scene just going through the panels, the panel structures. I like how the panel structures, whilst the pages themselves are different size panels and whatnot, I like the fact that the panels themselves are quite structured. You know what I'm saying? They're not like big, like odd shaped panels to try and get you to, you know, you're letting the characters within the panel do the work rather than the design, which I think adds to the storytelling element, because you're kind of looking at it. You know, when you're watching stuff on TV, very rarely does the pictures then go small and big, then lots of little boxes. It's just like one flat
Sure.
picture, isn't it? Now I've said that, I can think of several where it doesn't, but still, I'm going to go with it. So I like the fact that you've kind of got this almost cinematic kind of approach, and you can see that in some of these colors, the cloud formations, you know, the kind of work you've got to show the motion through the panel with the sort of speed lines going on. It's absolutely spot on. Absolutely. I'm very impressed for sure.
I mean, Kay does such beautiful work. I mean, she did incredible work for The Knight and the Lion. I've got that around here somewhere. This actually recently came in.
Hang on, let me. Oh yeah.
This
I
is
like
my
that as
book.
well.
Yep. So
Very
she also.
Aslan there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was actually based on a real 13th century Arthurian romance about a knight who befriends a lion and then goes into battle with him. So, and that was very well received. And you know, the art is beautiful, and so obviously she's taking that level of artistry up another notch here for this book, and we're super excited about it.
I honestly, I am more than impressed. It's absolutely gorgeous. I thought I had a picture. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, yes, I have. So this is the hero of the piece, or one of them, I should say.
Yeah, this is Vera. She is the, I would say, one of the main characters, but she's sort of a grizzled ex-poacher. So she's certainly, for me, one of the inspirations is Clint Eastwood for this character.
Okay.
And so, you know, she's kind of like a battle-hardened, you know, she's been out west. She's been out in the desert with her dragon, surviving. And so
now you said that, I can see that. Now you've said that, I can absolutely totally see. That also adds into the lack of dialogue a little bit, isn't it? Like, because he doesn't say a lot, does he? He's kind of like, you know, make your choice, punk. and that's it.
Yep.
That's it. So I get it. I totally see it now. You've mentioned it. Definitely.
So I don't know if I don't think I sent you the other characters, but certainly
I've got Blaze.
you've got the dragon. Okay.
I've got the dragon. Let me bring the dragon up. He says, frantically looking for it. There he is. Boom.
Yep. So that is Blaze. So Vera is a woman of few words, and her one constant companion for years has been Blaze. And of course, Blaze does not talk. So, they kind of have a companionable silence between them. But Blaze is one of the fastest dragons out west. So while there might be stronger dragons, more powerful dragons, there are not faster dragons, which is what made Vera so good as a star route delivery person. But unfortunately, being fast doesn't help when you have to walk on foot guiding an ancient mist dragon to her graveyard.
Yeah, kind of taking the power away, aren't you? So it's interesting. Creators kind of do this to kind of set the scene as like this is the fantastic thing that we do, and it's always the best. Oh yeah, apart from this, because there's something. And what have I been watching recently? I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you know. I just say remember. There used to be a TV show in the 80s called Airwolf about a helicopter. It's like a super fast helicopter that does like crazy things, and every now and again the helicopter's so good that you have to think, well, hold on a second. Oh no, it's got a malfunction. Oh no, the guns don't work. How are we going to get away from the bad guys? Oh, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yeah, it's kind of like I sometimes feel that creators can kind of put themselves into a corner a little bit because they're like one aspect of their characters. There's something about them. It's kind of like saying, "Oh, Batman is the greatest. Does everything. He does this. He does that. He does this." And they're like, "Well, how does he get beat up by bad guys?" And like, "Oh yeah, how's that happen?" Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of like the Flash TV show where he has that choice. He can catch the bad guy or he can save the girl. So he decides to save the girl, and the bad guy still gets away, even though the Flash can run 3 times the speed of light or whatever it is. It's like,
right.
Do you find that kind of be a problem, or
well,
you like to kind of, I suppose the heroics of the character are displayed more via their vulnerabilities than by their strengths.
Yeah, and I would say that I like to write characters that are there where their vulnerabilities are very personal. Like in Unicorn Vampire Hunter, I often describe the unicorn as the greatest warrior in the world and the greatest vampire hunter. But of course, like, can that help him deal with his own trauma? Like, and then in this book, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't necessarily say that Vera is like a superhero or anything like that, but and I also wouldn't describe her as a hero. I think throughout the story, if you've seen a movie like the movie True Grit, which I'm certainly taking more than a little inspiration from, the character, the old guy in that movie is like
Rooster Coburn.
Yeah, right.
Just about to throw that in there. It's my mum's second favorite movie, that and Gone with the Wind. So
Okay. He's it's not like he's known for being like a super nice, good guy.
Yeah, I get that.
But as the journey goes on, you kind of have this character discovery, and
I think you're doing this. I think you're doing Vera a little bit of a misservice. I think characters. I don't know how I dare say that because it's your character. You do what you like, but I think characters who do good things are inherently good people. They just live difficult lives, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's that whole thing. Han Solo's a good guy, even though he's a smuggler, and yes, he shoots first. You don't need him to like have everything changed around to make him like the quintessential good guy. He's a smuggler, for Christ's sakes. He does bad things. He probably ships drugs across the Galactic Empire. But nobody bats an eyelid to that because he piles up with Luke Skywalker and decides to do the right thing somewhere along the line.
Yes. And so I would say in this book, Vera is a good person, but she is grumpy and she's getting older and she is surviving. And I think that throughout the course of this book, we're going to see her goodness come through in a real way. And so, yeah, I mean, like I've said before, with everything I write, the conflicts are deeply personal and emotional. And so hopefully that shines through. I think when I'm at my best, the moments, there are moments in the book that are going to make you that are going to make you feel things. So hopefully I'll do that again this time.
I'm feeling it now, thinking about that poor dragon trying to find some place to lay down. That sounds awful. Oh my God. All right, so the Kickstarter's not live yet. The Kickstarter's going live 5th of March. So
March 5th.
March 5th. You can head over to the preview page, and I'll show the link in a second. There it is. And you can click the notify me on launch. As it currently stands, 273 followers. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I think I'm not sure because I haven't actually kept track of exactly how many there were before launch before, but I think this might be a record for me.
Cool.
So,
Excellent. Notify me in launch means that you get the notification when it goes live. I'm not sure, are there going to be early bird tiers?
Oh yeah, there'll be early bird prices for sure.
Cool. And if you want to check out the project, yes, I know Kickstarter links are long. No, I can't do anything about it. But if you're watching the show, you know how to use a search bar. So it's dead easy. Kickstarter, type in Dragon Grit, and it'll come up. It is that simple. How more? What do you want me to do? Take you there myself? Come on. You have a website.
Yes.
There is the link. And this link will take you to your website. You can see lots of different books that you've kind of had in the past. Is there a section where people can buy previous stuff?
There is, although it's like the website is constantly under construction. There is, you can buy stuff on the website, but right now, I think I still need to update in terms of some of the latest stuff to get on there.
That's fine. That's cool. I'll show the website. You can have a look at it in a second. Are you doing any cons this year, Caleb? Can people find you some places?
The only one that I'm currently signed up to do is in my hometown of Spokane, Washington, which is a small con called Lilac City Comic Con.
Is it going through a bit of a purple patch, is it?
Say again?
Is it going through a bit of a purple patch?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a bad joke. What can I say?
And sometimes I do other conventions like the one in Portland, Oregon, or the one in Seattle, Washington, but currently not signed up for any. I used to be a big con goer, and now I'm a little more hesitant about going to them just because I think before the pandemic, I got real burnt out. I was doing like 10 a year and I was getting tired.
I hear you on that one. I hear you on that for sure. There you go. Excellent. So you've seen the website, you've seen the Kickstarter, you've looked at pages from the preview. What more could you want? It is that simple. Caleb, last 30 seconds or so, give us your elevator pitch of why people should be heading over to pledge for Dragon Grit.
Well, if you love Western stories like Tombstone and True Grit, and you love fantasy stories, and you like stories that will make you cry, then this is the book for you. So please head over on and back it.
Yeah. I'm crying already. I hate sad stories. Caleb, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy prep to talk to me about your project. From what I've seen, it looks gorgeous. I am super intrigued.
Thank you.
super intrigued. I'm going to be clicking the notify me in a little bit.
Awesome.
There you go. Excellent. That's it for the show, guys. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows, including, as you saw the trailer for it earlier, the Old Timers Comic Book Show. For you Marvel fans, you can head over to the No Prize Podcast. You DC fans have got the Definitive Crusade. And if you like anything a little bit figurey, you have Crisis in the Toyverse. And not forgetting our once a month dip into everything that is Korean in K-pop cosmos. What more can I give you for network? I don't know. Cool. Caleb, you've been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for spending the time. I really genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes, and as always, adios. When the trailers run now.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.